Silence is not emptiness. Silence is containment. When a person learns to remain silent, they stop leaking energy into unnecessary places. Every word spoken carries force, and when words are wasted on explanation, complaint, or validation, that force dissolves. Most people are exhausted not because life is heavy, but because they talk too much about things that do not move them forward. Silence gathers what speech scatters. Energy follows attention. When attention is constantly directed outward through conversation, arguments, and opinions, energy flows outward as well. Silence pulls attention back inward. It creates a reservoir. This is why calm people feel powerful without trying. They are not spending their strength convincing others, defending themselves, or narrating their struggles. They are conserving. In conservation, power grows. The mind becomes sharper in silence. Noise fragments thought. Constant expression blurs intention. When silence is practiced, thoughts slow down and clarity appears. You begin to notice what matters and what does not. Many desires fade when silence exposes them as impulses rather than truths. What remains after silence is usually aligned with purpose. Silence also protects intention. The moment a goal is spoken out loud to the wrong ears, it becomes diluted. Opinions enter. Doubt creeps in. Expectations form. Silence shields the seed before it is strong enough to grow. A seed does not announce itself underground. It develops in darkness, pressure, and stillness. Only when it is rooted does it rise. There is strength in not responding. Every reaction costs energy. When someone provokes you and you remain silent, you keep your power while they lose theirs. Silence is not weakness, it is control. The ability to choose when to speak and when to remain quiet separates the disciplined from the reactive. A silent response often unsettles those who seek control through noise. Silence trains patience. When words are withheld, impulses are restrained. This restraint carries into action. Decisions become deliberate rather than emotional. The body relaxes, the breath deepens. Energy once used for constant expression is redirected toward execution. Quiet people often accomplish more because they are not interrupting their own momentum. In silence, self-awareness increases. Without the distraction of talking, excuses lose their voice. You begin to hear your own patterns clearly. You recognize when fear disguises itself as logic and when ego demands recognition. Silence strips away performance. What remains is honesty. There is also spiritual efficiency in silence. Inner dialogue becomes more intentional. Instead of narrating life, you experience it. Instead of naming every feeling, you observe it. Observation consumes less energy than reaction. Over time, this creates emotional stability. Stability compounds strength. Silence changes presence. Others feel it before they understand it. A silent person enters a room differently. Their energy is contained, not scattered. Their eyes are steady. Their movements are purposeful. They do not rush to fill space with words. This creates gravity. People listen more closely when they do speak because silence has trained their voice to carry weight. Practicing silence does not mean withdrawing from the world. It means choosing precision, speaking when necessary, acting instead of announcing, listening more than reacting, letting results communicate what words never could. When silence becomes a habit, energy accumulates quietly, steadily, invisibly, shaping outcomes long before they appear. Strengthening resolve without display, building force beneath the surface, preparing the ground for transformation without noise identity is the root from which all outcomes grow. What a person repeatedly identifies as becomes the framework through which they interpret the world. Life does not respond to wishes. It responds to self-definition. When someone says who they are, even silently, the mind begins to organize behavior, choices, and perception to match that declaration. This process happens whether the identity is chosen consciously or inherited unconsciously. Most people live inside identities they never selected. They say they are unlucky, emotional, average, or broken, and then they wonder why life confirms it. The mind's primary function is alignment. It aligns actions with identity, not with goals. Goals exist in the future. Identity operates in the present. This is why identity always wins. A person who identifies as disciplined will act with structure even on difficult days. A person who identifies as lazy will sabotage progress even when motivated. Reality mirrors identity through behavior patterns. What you tolerate, what you avoid, what you pursue, and what you repeat all stem from who you believe you are. Change the belief, and behavior follows without force. Attempt to change behavior without changing identity, and resistance appears. This resistance is not failure, it is consistency. The mind is being loyal to its current self-image. Language plays a central role in identity formation. Every time a label is accepted, it becomes a boundary. Words spoken about the self are instructions. They inform the nervous system how to respond to pressure. Under stress, people do not rise to their ambitions, they fall back to their identity. This is why redefining the self is more powerful than setting new intentions. Identity is reinforced through repetition. Small actions repeated daily shape self-perception. When someone keeps promises to themselves, identity strengthens. When promises are broken, identity weakens. This happens quietly. No one notices it immediately, but the internal record is kept. Over time, the mind concludes what kind of person it is dealing with and adjusts expectations accordingly. There is also danger in borrowed identities. Society, family, and past experiences attempt to name you. These names can become cages if accepted without examination. Once accepted, they limit possibility. A person does not act beyond who they believe they are allowed to be. Expansion begins when old labels are questioned and released. Identity must be embodied, not imagined. Thinking differently without acting differently creates conflict. Action seals identity. Even one aligned action carries more weight than repeated affirmations without movement. The body believes what it experiences. When behavior changes, identity updates. This is why discipline precedes confidence, not the other way around. Silence strengthens identity because it removes comparison. Constant exposure to others blurs self-definition. In quiet, personal standards emerge. You begin to measure yourself against your values instead of other people's outcomes. This internal measurement stabilizes identity and reduces emotional fluctuation. A stable identity simplifies decision-making. Choices become clearer because they must align with who you are becoming. You no longer ask what feels easy or popular. You ask what is consistent. Consistency compounds. Over time, life begins to feel predictable in a powerful way because your internal structure is solid. When identity shifts, external reality follows without struggle. Relationships change. Opportunities align. Obstacles appear differently. The world treats you according to how you treat yourself internally. Identity is the lens, the filter, and the command. Change the lens, and the entire picture rearranges itself from the inside out, shaping behavior, directing energy, reinforcing patterns, and determining outcomes long before circumstances seem to respondwards. Spoken inward are not harmless thoughts. They are commands. The inner voice shapes perception, emotion, and behavior long before action becomes visible. Every silent sentence repeated in the mind conditions the nervous system. The body responds as if those words are true, regardless of whether they are constructive or destructive. This is why inner speech carries more influence than anything spoken aloud. Most people are unaware of how often they talk to themselves. The mind runs continuously, narrating, judging, predicting, and replaying. When this inner dialogue is undisciplined, energy is scattered. Anxiety grows from uncontrolled internal language. Confidence weakens when the mind repeats doubt. Power leaks not through failure, but through constant negative instruction given to the self. Words spoken inward bypass social filters. There is no resistance, no debate, no correction. They enter directly and shape belief. When repeated, they become assumptions. Assumptions quietly dictate behavior. A person who internally repeats that they are behind in life will hesitate, rush, or compare. A person who repeats that they are steady will move with patience and clarity. The same environment produces different outcomes based on internal language. Inner words also shape emotional regulation. When pressure arises, the first internal response determines whether stress escalates or dissolves. A calm internal statement can slow the breath and relax the muscles. A fearful statement can trigger tension and reactivity. The situation does not change, but the experience of it does. Power is not in controlling events, it is in controlling the internal narrative during events. Discipline of inner speech requires awareness. Silence creates space to notice patterns. Once noticed, words can be chosen deliberately. This choice is an act of leadership over the self. Leadership does not require shouting. It requires consistency. Replacing chaotic inner speech with intentional statements redirects energy. The mind begins to organize around clarity rather than noise. Inner words influence posture, tone, and presence. A person silently telling themselves they are capable stands differently. Their eyes focus, their movements become economical. No external affirmation is required because the internal environment is aligned. This alignment is felt by others, even if it is not explained. There is efficiency in inward speech. Outward words often seek reaction or approval. Inward words seek alignment. They do not argue, they instruct. When inward language is minimal and precise, energy is conserved. This conservation translates into stamina. The person can endure longer without emotional fatigue. Negative inner speech is often inherited. It echoes voices from the past, criticisms absorbed unconsciously. These echoes continue unless challenged. Rewriting them is not about positive thinking, it is about accuracy. Removing exaggeration, removing judgment, removing assumptions. Precision replaces drama. Precision restores power. Inner words must match behavior to remain effective. Empty repetition weakens belief. When words align with action, trust is built internally. The mind learns to listen. Over time, a simple inward phrase can stabilize emotion instantly because it has been reinforced through experience. Silence between inner words is equally important. Constant internal talking creates pressure. Pausing allows energy to settle. From stillness, the next instruction carries more weight. The fewer the words, the stronger they become. Power grows when the internal environment is governed intentionally. What is spoken inward shapes the path outward. Control the inner voice, and the outer world becomes manageable. Lose control of it, and even favorable conditions feel heavy. Inner words are not passive thoughts. They are the architecture of experience, shaping resilience, directing focus, influencing emotion, and determining how energy is used moment by moment. Desire is easy. Discipline is rare. Desire appears naturally when something looks appealing, but it disappears just as quickly when discomfort arises. Discipline remains when desire fades. It does not depend on mood, excitement, or external reward. It functions quietly, steadily, and without negotiation. This is why discipline outlasts motivation and outperforms raw desire in every area of life. Desire reacts to emotion. Discipline responds to principle. When guided by desire, actions fluctuate. Some days effort is strong, other days it collapses. This inconsistencies creates self-doubt. Discipline removes the need for constant emotional readiness. It turns action into routine. Routine reduces resistance. Over time, what once felt difficult becomes normal. Discipline creates internal authority. Without it, the mind argues, delays, and rationalizes. With it, decisions are already made. There is no debate about whether to act. Action is the default. This conserves mental energy. The mind becomes quieter because it no longer negotiates with impulses. Silence replaces chaos. Many people confuse discipline with punishment. In reality, discipline is structure. Structure creates freedom. When the day is governed by clear standards, there is less anxiety. Choices become simple. Energy is no longer wasted deciding what to do next. The body relaxes when it knows what is expected of it. Discipline strengthens identity. Each completed action reinforces the belief that one is reliable. Reliability builds self-respect. Self-respect increases confidence. Confidence then feeds further discipline. This cycle compounds. Desire cannot create this cycle because desire is not dependable. Under pressure, desire collapses. Stress exposes the weakness of emotion-based action. Discipline, however, is designed for pressure. It does not require comfort. It adapts. This is why disciplined individuals remain steady during chaos. They do not seek ease, they seek consistency. Discipline also trains patience. Results are not demanded immediately. Process is respected. This patience prevents reckless decisions. It keeps effort aligned over time. Many failures come not from lack of ability, but from abandoning the process too early. Discipline holds the line when impatience tempts withdrawal. There is humility in discipline. It accepts limits and works within them. It does not chase shortcuts. It values repetition. Repetition builds mastery. Mastery creates confidence that does not depend on external validation. This quiet confidence is stable. Discipline reduces dependency on external control. When standards are internal, circumstances lose influence. Praise does not inflate. Criticism does not derail. The individual remains centered because direction comes from within. This internal compass is stronger than any external pressure. Discipline is built through small acts. Grand gestures are unnecessary. Simple, consistent actions create momentum. Skipping discipline weakens it. Practicing it strengthens it. The mind learns through evidence. Each disciplined act is evidence of capability. In the absence of discipline, desire becomes frustration. Goals feel heavy. Progress feels inconsistent. With discipline, even mundane tasks feel purposeful. The effort itself becomes grounding. Over time, discipline reshapes character. Character shapes destiny. Not through intensity, but through consistency, through structure, through quiet commitment that persists regardless of feeling, regardless of outcome, regardless of recognition announcing intentions, creates an illusion of progress. The moment a goal is spoken aloud, the mind often experiences a false sense of completion. Words release tension, and that release reduces urgency. What was meant to be built through action is partially discharged through speech. This is why many plans die shortly after being shared. The energy meant for execution escapes through explanation. Silence keeps intention intact. An unspoken goal remains concentrated. It stays unresolved, creating internal pressure. This pressure fuels movement. When intentions are announced, they become exposed to opinion, interpretation, and expectation. Each external reaction pulls attention away from the original purpose. The goal becomes distorted, adjusted to please or defend, rather than pursued with clarity. There is also vulnerability in announcement. Not everyone who listens wants alignment. Some project doubt, some project fear, some project limitation. Even subtle reactions can weaken resolve. The mind absorbs these signals unconsciously. Silence prevents contamination. It protects intention from unnecessary influence. Keeping intentions private strengthens self-trust. When no one is watching, motivation becomes internal. Action is taken because it is required, not because it is observed. This builds integrity. Integrity grows when behavior is consistent, regardless of audience. Announced intentions often create performance. Private intentions create authenticity. Silence also removes pressure to prove. When intentions are public, failure feels heavier. Fear of embarrassment interferes with experimentation. Silence allows flexibility. Adjustments can be made without explanation. Progress becomes adaptive instead of rigid. This adaptability increases the chance of success. There is discipline in restraint. Restraining the urge to talk trains control. Control extends beyond speech into behavior. A person who can withhold words can also delay gratification, resist impulse, and endure discomfort. This restraint strengthens character. Tensions mature in privacy. Like anything developing, they require time without disturbance. Silence provides that environment. It allows clarity to sharpen. Weak goals dissolve. Strong ones remain. Announcing too early freezes an idea before it is fully formed. Silence allows refinement. People who talk less often do more. Their energy is directed toward preparation, practice, and execution. They are not distracted by storytelling. They let results communicate. Results carry authority that words cannot match. Silence also reveals seriousness. When someone stops talking and starts acting, behavior changes. Time is used differently. Focus increases. The absence of announcement removes the need for reassurance. The individual becomes self-contained. There is also strategic advantage in privacy. Others cannot interfere with what they do not know. Progress continues uninterrupted. When results appear, they appear complete, not in fragments. This creates impact. Keeping intentions private shifts the relationship with validation. Approval is no longer sought. Confidence becomes quiet. Quiet confidence is stable. It does not fluctuate with reaction. Many people speak to feel supported. True support comes from alignment, not agreement. Alignment is built through action. Silence forces reliance on self. This reliance strengthens resolve. When intentions remain internal, they guide decisions subtly. Choices align naturally. There is less conflict. The mind is not split between explaining and doing. Energy flows in one direction. The urge to announce is often an urge to be seen. Releasing that urge frees energy. That energy can be invested in progress. Silence becomes a tool, not a withdrawal. In time, unspoken intentions shape behavior so completely that explanation becomes unnecessary. The work speaks. The change is visible. The silence that once held the intention becomes the reason it succeeded. Preserving focus, protecting resolve, sustaining pressure, and allowing growth without interruption becoming always precedes receiving. Life does not reward wishes, it responds to alignment. What arrives externally is a reflection of what has been stabilized internally. When a person focuses only on outcomes, frustration grows. When a person focuses on becoming, outcomes follow naturally. This shift removes desperation and replaces it with direction. Most people attempt to receive before they are ready to hold. They seek success without structure, recognition without depth, reward without responsibility. This creates imbalance. Even when something is gained, it is quickly lost because the internal capacity to sustain it has not been developed. Becoming builds that capacity quietly. Becoming is a process of internal adjustment. Habits change first, standards rise, behavior becomes deliberate. These changes are not dramatic. They are subtle and repetitive. Over time, the internal environment stabilizes. Once stabilized, it attracts matching circumstances. Life aligns with consistency. Identity transformation is central to becoming. A person does not attract what they want. They attract what they are prepared for. Preparation is internal. It involves patience, discipline, and self-regulation. These qualities cannot be rushed. They are developed through practice, not desire. Receiving without becoming creates dependency. The individual relies on external validation to feel secure. This dependence weakens resilience. When challenges appear, stability collapses. Becoming first builds internal security. External shifts no longer destabilize the self. Becoming also clarifies values. When values are clear, choices are simple. Simplicity reduces friction. Friction consumes energy. Energy preserved can be directed toward growth. This efficiency compounds. The process of becoming requires discomfort. Old patterns resist change. The mind seeks familiarity. Discipline overrides this resistance. Each time discomfort is endured without retreat, strength increases. This strength is internal. It cannot be taken away. Receiving is often visible. Becoming is invisible. Most transformation happens without witnesses. This invisibility protects growth. There is no pressure to perform. Progress is honest. Mistakes are integrated, not hidden. This honesty accelerates development. Becoming aligns intention with action. When action matches internal direction, confidence stabilizes. Confidence becomes grounded. It does not require constant reassurance. This grounded confidence changes how others respond. There is timing involved in receiving. Forcing outcomes creates distortion. Becoming respects timing. It allows readiness to dictate arrival. When something arrives at the right time, it integrates smoothly. When it arrives too early, it disrupts balance. Becoming reduces attachment to results. Effort becomes the focus. When effort is consistent, results are inevitable. Detachment prevents emotional volatility. The individual remains steady regardless of short-term fluctuations. Life tests alignment. When tests appear, they are opportunities to stabilize becoming. Each response reinforces or weakens the internal state. Consistent response builds trust within the self. Trust strengthens identity. Receiving is a consequence, not a goal. When becoming is prioritized, receiving becomes natural. The individual no longer chases. They prepare. Preparation shifts posture, presence, and decision-making. Over time, the gap between internal state and external reality closes. What appears in life feels familiar, not surprising. This familiarity signals alignment. The individual recognizes that what has arrived matches who they have become, reflecting internal order through external form, sustaining stability through change, and confirming that becoming was the true work all along. All power begins inward and moves outward through discipline, silence, and identity. What you speak internally, what you protect through silence, and what you repeat through action quietly shape your reality. When energy is conserved instead of scattered, intention becomes clear. When identity is chosen instead of inherited, direction becomes steady. When discipline replaces desire, progress becomes inevitable. The world responds not to what you announce, but to what you embody. Becoming precedes receiving because alignment must exist before outcomes can last. This path does not require noise, validation, or explanation. It requires restraint, consistency, and inner command. Say less, hold more, act with precision. Let silence guard your intention. Let discipline refine your character, and let identity guide every decision. When inner order is established, external order follows without force, and the life you once sought begins to meet you where you stand.